I kind of want to do a little bit of a retrospective on the stream because we've gotten a lot of stuff done over the course of the stream. On the whole, I would like to say this was another fun year for me. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting a whole lot of people that just jumped into the stream just to say hello, just had chats, conversations. Okay, what could I say just on the surface about this stream? I guess I'll say it was a lot rockier than it was last year. Last year, I was pretty consistent at starting at 7 o'clock, Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday. Things have been a little bit rockier as of late. A lot of sands are shifting on the underside of the stream because I've got a lot of things that I'm doing in my own personal life, and there are a lot of things that I'm trying to put together, and I'm trying to get through just the menial things of life and society. But unfortunately, yeah, that has affected certain streams, and it has made me unfortunately put things aside or reschedule days. But I have streamed just as much as I did last time, like, you know, the last year. If not, I think I did a little bit more. As well as I was a tiny bit more overtime on just working on my own projects and making my own videos. So that's another one. But anyway, I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a retrospective on some of the games that I have played on the stream, and I want to give one final, a final impression about some of the things that have passed us by over the course of a year. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and do that. So, starting off, I'm going to talk about one of the games that I started real early in this year. I started off playing Owlboy. Here, let me swap over to a different song. Yeah, this one's fine. Anyways, yeah, Owlboy. That is a game that... have you played Owlboy? Because if you haven't, you should. I'm actually sort of sad that there are not enough people that went out and played it. It's not like it flopped or anything to that degree, but I feel like it needed a lot more attention that it didn't get. Because this game, it's like the 2D rendition of Zelda that was made in an alternate reality. Like, it is very nice. It's got a great story behind it. It's real fun. It's extremely linear. But if you don't have a problem with that, and if you're cool with just a story, like, I mean, it's a really nice game. I really loved it. I guess I'll say, like, I don't know, there were a couple of times where it's just kind of droned in the story. Like, it felt like it was just sort of coasting on the exact... It's hard to explain. Like, when you play a Legend of Zelda game, it feels a little bit more robust. You can do more things and branch yourself off. This game, yeah, you have to follow it by the numbers to a huge extent. But, you know, like, ultimately, I freaking loved it. It has so much charm, so much character, and I loved so much of the individual bits involved with it. If you have not played it, I definitely recommend it, because I definitely did not regret my time that I put into it, and I especially like the fact that I played it on stream, and, you know, my first impressions and my first responses were right there. So that is that game. Let's move on to, this one. I'm actually still playing this. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. You know, like, I really, really freaking enjoy the game, but it has been a game that has been in contention with me for a while, because as much as I love the game, unfortunately, it's a game that was made by Nintendo. And Nintendo is awful when it comes to Content ID. And I hate to upload these kinds of videos to my channel just because, I mean, I'm not making any ad revenue on this stuff, obviously. But at the same time, it's the precedent of it. The idea that Nintendo can just step in and say, oh, no, your video is absolutely 100% owned by us. You know, like, nothing said, and you can't fight it. And we're just going to turn it right around on you. It's like, you know, what are you going to do? We have lawyers. We'll fight you. Regardless of whether or not something is constructive criticism or anything to that degree. And Let's Plays are in a very big gray area. So, I mean, as much as I love the game, that was one thing that was really difficult. And now that VidMe, which was the main place that I was uploading these things, has finally gone away, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot that I can do about that footage. And because I was actually... This is one of the series that I was very heavily editing for the longest time. What about Vimeo? I thought about Vimeo, but I think there's a download limit on there. That was one of the things that actually I was really interested with VidMe about. Because VidMe didn't have an overarching limit on it. However, there is that one situation where I went and uploaded a bunch of... I was basically just dual uploading to both YouTube and VidMe for a while. And then VidMe came over and said, hi, you're uploading a shitload of videos at a regular basis. Not word for word. You know, I'm kind of embellishing here. But it's like, you're uploading a ton of videos, and we don't have the server space to deal with that. So we're going to limit your account, and you can only upload 50 gigabytes, you know, and that's the limit. Like, no more... Plenty less if you want to, but yeah, no more than 50 gigs. And I was like, you know, for a website that was advertising itself as being open and like open with dialogue with their creators, they didn't give me any warning on this. They didn't tell me, and there was nothing in the descriptions on the rules that stated that you can't over-upload. I didn't know there was a limit, so yeah, I uploaded everything under the sun. And yeah, I got in trouble for it. So that was a really, really big sore spot for me, because now I don't have a side thing. And yeah, Zelda Breath of the Wild series kind of fell to the wasteland, which, that sucks, because like I was saying, I went and I was uploading not just like the full streams of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I was actively cutting them down to the individual parts where I found something new, or I found something interesting. That was so cool. Like, you know, it was a series that was pretty consistent, and I was cutting it down to the more interesting parts, and it wasn't just me running through a field on a constant basis, because I felt like no one would be interested in watching that after the stream. But and I'm still going to be cutting it down, and I'm still going to be looking for some place to upload. I've had a couple of ideas on where I could upload. I don't like a lot of them, but I'm still going to look. I'm still going to edit down the streams, and I am still going to work on that. And I'm still going to stream Breath of the Wild until I complete it. It's just going to be a while before that footage can be rewatched. I mean, like, because regardless, I love Breath of the Wild. It is a very, very fun Legend of Zelda game. I haven't, in the entire time that I've been talking about Breath of the Wild, I haven't said much about it. No, it really feels like this is the 3D Zelda title that has finally taken the flexibility of those 2D Zelda titles and finally implemented it into a 3D environment. You know, like, the open air, like, just the open world environment involved with Breath of the Wild is extremely impressive, I'll say. You know, and it's fun to be able to just make a decision. Like, you just look out in the distance and go, hey, I kind of like how gigantic that mountain is. I'm gonna climb that! For no reason. And then you find something at the top of it. Like, it's so cool. But, and I mean, that's why I've been diving back into it, because, yeah, it is fun. And it's a cool, kind of chill game. It gets frustrating when things keep freaking killing you. It's weird, because a friend of mine was telling me about it. It's like, you know, I've heard that this Legend of Zelda is a lot like Dark Souls. It's like, what? How? Where? And now that I played it, I'm like, oh. Oh, I understand now. That makes sense. But yeah, I would say, like, this is... I'm very happy that they started out with this game on the Nintendo Switch. That was another cool thing. We did an unboxing of the Nintendo Switch. Now that I think about it, that hasn't been uploaded to YouTube because I made that VidMe exclusive. Oh shit, I need to upload that. Okay. I think it'd be okay to upload that. But yeah, I did an unboxing of the Nintendo Switch, and I was really worried because I was just like, is the Switch gonna work? I don't know. I'm really doubtful, and there's not a lot to it. But thankfully, you honestly don't like Breath of the Wild much. Yeah, that's okay. Well, what don't you like about it? Let me know what that is. And is there a specific thing about it that kind of squicks you in a weird way? I know, like, I'll say it's probably one of the more flexible and better 3D Zeldas that are out there, personally. Like, as much as I like Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker and stuff like that, it always felt like you were kind of being toted along. This feels like an open adventure. Like, you're going out and you're finding stuff. It's crazy. Okay, Mario says it's too open. You have no idea what you're doing or where to go. You got a point there. Again, the way that I sort of tackled it was a lot of times I wouldn't even do any of the missions. I just look off into the distance and I would just go, hey, that looks weird. I'm gonna do that. And you will find things to do. Like, you know, it never fails. You always just run into something. So that's what I really enjoyed about it. But anyway, I've been talking too much about Breath of the Wild. I'm going to move on to the next one, which, this has really disappointed me to an extreme extent. Stuff involved with the HTC Vive. Now, the technology is still fun. The technology, I'm enjoying it, and I see potential in it, but the problem is, in this current state, I don't know if it's ready for the open market. Like, I don't. I'm one of the crazy early adopters that was like, I want VR, because, yeah, I'm so into the idea of VR. And yeah, I still am, and I think it's going to be really cool. But the problem is there haven't been a whole lot of experiences that I could honestly say will break through and make people want to play VR. I haven't seen it. Like, I've noticed Google has got a hell of a lot of games out, like this one, for instance, that, it does get people's attention. Oh, yeah, and then this. Oh, the Rick and Morty game was so much fun. I loved it. I've noticed that Alchemy Labs tends to do the best VR titles. Like, they've got it, like, down pat, like 100%. So, stuff like Vacation... Well, no, I was going to mention that. Job Simulator, that was fun. And Vacation Simulator is coming out pretty soon. There was a trailer for that. I'm looking forward to that. And Alchemy Labs made the Rick and Morty adventure. So, hey, I don't know. It's like they're firing on all cylinders, and they are making it work. As well as Alchemy Labs was recently picked up by Google. So it's like, all right, cool. Let's just conglomerate the hell out of this. But I don't know. I've seen a couple of VR experiences that came out, but I didn't really get excited about them. Doom just seemed like it would be way too hectic. I've actually heard that the Skyrim Doom stuff is kind of piss and terrible. The best one, actually my buddy was telling me about this earlier, I guess Fallout 4 is not bad. Here, I'm going to open a soda. Fallout 4 is actually not bad, and specifically, it's because of the VAT system. They implemented the VAT system extremely well, and it works very well in a VR environment. And honestly, yeah, I could see that. And it sort of made me think, perhaps it's time for me to try and do Fallout again on the stream. Except through that sort of formula, I don't know. Because I tried Fallout at one point, and for one, I had a very pissed graphics card back then, so that didn't help out much. But on the other side, funny enough, Mario, you mentioned that Breath of the Wild felt like there was way too big. You had no idea where to go. I felt a similar way with Fallout. I don't know. There's just, it's so huge. There's so many things to do. And it's in a world that I'm really not interested in interacting with. It's just sort of apocalyptic. I suppose it's interesting to a certain extent. I guess I adapted way more to Breath of the Wild and Zelda because it's Zelda. I love Zelda. And I guess I don't feel the exact same way for Fallout, so that's kind of my issue with that stuff. But yeah, it's not that I think that VR is a dead thing. I still think it's got potential, and I think it's going to go somewhere. But before it does, we need to get a killer app. We need to get some consistency on the headsets as well. Like, software needs to come out more often for all headsets. That's the problem. That's a huge one. Because as it stands, a lot of people are attempting to have exclusives on these goddamn headsets. It's like there aren't enough games out there for these things. We need as many games as possible to be out on as many headsets as possible. Like, because really, like, if you don't have a good library, people are not going to dive into that. That's my opinion on it. I think so. All right. So the next thing, the next game that I wanted to talk about here, this is a game that, yeah, this year was kind of ruled by a huge amount of this, and that would have to be the Phoenix Wright series. I have played a lot of the Phoenix Wright stuff, and I gotta say, I have, like, regrets involved with not streaming the Phoenix Wright game, like the original Phoenix Wright, with my actual genuine full-on reactions to them. But I am very happy that I decided to put off doing the other games until I had a platform like this. Because now, it's opened it up, and these are my first impressions on a whole lot of the franchise, and it's a whole lot of fun stuff. And like the characters, they are very interesting to watch. It's got great jokes, it's got great drama, and it is a blast to voice for. Even when I don't do voices all that well, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff, or a lot of voices I've tried in the past with Phoenix Wright that I haven't felt 100% sync with, but I try. I do it again. But it doesn't help that like some of the female leads here, or the female characters, I don't have a feminine voice. I mean, it's not that I have like a deep voice or anything, but I don't have a good falsetto. I'm sort of like in the middle there, with just a tiny bit of both, like just low and high tone. That's what I found. But yeah, like Phoenix Wright has been a pretty fun thing to try and do, and we have been through a full 2 games, and we're currently playing Apollo Justice. And someday I'll come back and play the rest of the original Phoenix Wright game. When that'll be, I have no idea. But I'm looking for It's funny because I look forward to every single time I boot up that stream, because I have no idea what's coming up next. I'm just like, oh god, what kind of ridiculous nonsense are we going to run into today? So, that was fun. I'm very glad that I've made this a part of the, just the whole stream thing. And I'm glad that I got the capture device to be able to play it on the 3DS. That's one thing that stopped me, because, again, I have a policy on owning the games that I stream, like, 100%. I don't like emulating unless it's absolutely necessary. Yeah, that's how Mario found me. Hello, I remember that. I think the first stream that you jumped into was one of the well, no, not Trials and Tribulations. I think it was Justice for All, like at the latter end of that. And I've had a few people jump in, jump out. There's a few people that only watch me like minutely. I don't have too many people that are complete 100% regulars. Some people just dive into very specific games, and hey, that's cool. If the game interests you specifically, and if I'm playing something that you don't like, hey, by all means. For example, let me think. I've been playing Terraria on my off time, which, funny enough, I'm playing a little bit of Terraria music now. And when I've played Terraria, there are quite a few people that just hop into that. And that's pretty fun. Just to tag back and forth about stuff with that. But anyways, so that's Phoenix Wright. Let us move on to the next game, which, oh man. I'm a little bit disappointed in this, just a tad bit. Do I have this song queued up? Hold on. Oh, damn it. No, I deleted that. Okay, I guess I'll pop this back on. Anyway, no, the next game that I wanted to talk about through here is Yooka-Laylee. And I gotta say, I think this is, without a doubt, the biggest disappointment of 2017 for me. I can pretty much say. Not that the game is inherently bad, I will say. Like, I'm not saying that Yooka-Laylee is just a trash game or anything. Come to think of it, I haven't really played any games that I could honestly say I absolutely hated. I don't think so. Bigger than the Emoji Movie? I didn't see it, so I think Emoji Movie was worse. But, again, it's the biggest disappointment for me. I avoided the Emoji Movie like the plague, though. But, yeah, this is the biggest disappointment for me because I love BanjoKazooie like you wouldn't believe. That was my childhood growing up. That was a major, tremendous childhood game for me. And I was really looking forward to seeing what the veterans over at the X-Rare veterans could do with building their own company and making their own video game. And they built it, and it's not like the game is inherently horrible, but it absolutely was not great. It absolutely deserved to be better than what it did. And it kept flopping. Just one thing after another just kept on infuriating me. These minecart things were stupid. I'll just say. There was just a whole lot of problems with the game itself. The dialogue just did not feel like it was on point at all. It was a whole lot of just, one-liner jokes, and I guess maybe it worked a lot better in the N64 days, or maybe it's just I was a kid back then and I was kind of more okay with it. I'm not sure. But, there's those problems. Also, I mean, okay, another problem is that you see those gremlins that was just killed on the screen? It seemed like every single thing that you had to fight in this game had a very specific archetype, and they kept on reusing the exact same archetype enemies over and over and over again. Have I played Banjo recently? I remember I streamed Banjo, and I can honestly say, I can go back to Banjo today, and yeah, some of the jokes are corny, but I think the gameplay itself makes me happy. Like, that in and of itself, I really enjoy. Like, the gameplay is solid. The places you go, very well constructed. And it just felt like it was the exact same thing over and over and over again in Yooka-Laylee. It didn't feel like it changed or there wasn't any manipulation. I didn't feel like I was exploring or finding new things. I mean, sort of not. They kept reusing characters, they kept reusing enemies, and even when an enemy was, quote, new, it was just a reskin of a different one. You know, it's a different model, but the same physics behind them. I don't know. For the amount of money that they got in their Kickstarter, and for the amount of time they had to make the game, I feel like they could have put a lot more energy and a lot more into it. So, I don't know, I just got sad. Like, I really wanted to see this succeed. Oh, well, and I said it before. I don't remember if I said it on stream or not. Probably at some point. If I were to grade this on, you know, the standard curve of video games, from 1 to 10, I'd have to give Yooka-Laylee a 4. And that is barely managing to only get a 4. Like, it almost hits 5, but it's just slightly below. Slightly below average video game, considering that I know that this company can do better. Oh, and here's another problem. This game is just filled with technical problems. It was almost a running joke the entire time I was playing it, where I would just be playing and then the frames would just disappear, or sometimes the game itself would start crashing XSplit. There was just a lot of problems. This game was not optimized. It was not set up for the big leagues. It was probably optimized for the consoles first and not for PC. Especially not for streamers' sake, I don't think. And for somebody that likes to stream the video games on the same device that I play them off of, it didn't help me in the least. It's gotten a little bit better over time that it's been out. They've been ironing things out, but it's still not very good when it comes to performance, and I really feel like that would have softened me a little bit when it comes to it, but I don't know. Ultimately, overall, it was just one big disappointment. I really wanted it to be better. I was really looking forward. I had been following this thing ever since the BanjoKazooie thing was happening on Twitter. Do you remember that? I talked about it on in the Yooka-Laylee stream, come to think of it. The BanjoKazooie Twitter account that was sort of pseudo-hinting at the idea that, hey, we can make a new Banjo game, except without Banjo in it. And then Grant Kirkhope was just like, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Hey, look at this Twitter account. Hey, who is this strange BanjoKazooie man? We're just like, Grant, give it to us straight. What are you doing? You know, it's like, I was excited because it actually looked like we were moving in a good direction. And I do think a lot of the things in this game would work. It's just they need to fill it out better. But I will say, this game didn't work out, but a game followed directly afterwards that I have to say blew it right out of the water and showed it how to make a platforming video game, and that is A Hat in Time. I love A Hat in Time. Forward, left, back, right. I love every single second of A Hat in Time. And if there was anything that I was really, really skeptical or like really, really critical about, it's the fact that A Hat in Time was not long enough. Like, I know the game is $30, and, you know, that's a pretty good price for essentially half of Yooka-Laylee, which, you know, good. It's essentially half a platformer. And that being said, I really, really wanted to play more of it, and I think that's a good testament to it. I didn't ever feel like I was ultimately bored with the experience. You know, it was always coming up with some sort of new and interesting and kind of funny thing to throw at you at nearly all times. or something that you wouldn't have expected to see in a platforming game. And they kept exciting me, and it kept showing me brand new things. They kept on doing callbacks to old platforming video games. Like right here, this is a callback to the Super Mario Sunshine special courses where they took away the stupid jetpack or what. Well, not stupid. I love the jetpack, but most people say it's stupid. And it's the themes were very good. I guess another criticism some people have had is that this game feels really fragmented, in a major way. It feels like it's trying so hard to be all these things and just not doing 100% great on any of them. And I'm gonna say, yeah, they got a good point with that, but at the very least, it kept you interested. It changed up the formula, made things different every single time. Yeah. So I'll go to that. So, I don't know. Ultimately, the experience, I just loved it every second. I want more of it. And thanks to the success of this game, I'm hoping that they are thinking about making another one. And I hope that they iron out a lot of the problems. And I hope whatever the A Hat in Time sequel ends up being, I hope it's incredible. I'm genuinely, I'm banking on it. And I hesitate to say that I'm going to buy it straight out of the gate. Maybe if they follow the same sort of thing as they have been, where they don't go out and get a publisher, and they do it all in-house, no ties to just a AAA industry, then I think I would buy it. I might even pre-order it. That's my problem. I don't like pre-ordering because at the end of the day, I like to be critical about what I pick up. That's why a lot of times there's some games that I don't play until they've been out for a long time. Just to make sure that any rage that potentially happens has passed. But anyways, so one more game that I wanted to talk about right here on the stream. And without a doubt, it's a game that I have devoted so much goddamn time, attention, and work ethic into. And that is Night in the Woods. Good freaking lord. I put way too much time, way too much of my attention into working on content related to Night in the Woods. I had the live stream that I did with it, and then I retroactively went back and recut it down into episodic formula, and then I replayed the game again, except with an alternate character. And I didn't stream that on the stream. I cut that up into episodic form as well. I did a lot of work with it, and the reason why I did so much work with it is because, honestly, this is probably my game of the year, which is weird to say. I know that a lot of people probably wouldn't think that, but there's just so much to Night in the Woods that I really enjoyed. The characterization of everything. This is a game that's very much built in story, and the characters are great for the story. There's never a moment where you're listening to a character's dialogue or looking at how they react to a situation, and it never feels off-putting for their character. They're very well written. Unfortunately, there were quite a few spelling mistakes, which I was, I was previewed to those, that's for sure. But ultimately, there's a lot of really powerful scenes in this game. There's a whole lot of powerful characters, a lot of... Also, the characters are not just one-sided. There's a lot of elements to them as well. You're not just going to see a base bit to whatever he is. There's always a backstory, or there's a reasoning as to why a character acts the way they do. I don't know. It's a game that does a really good job of making you understand their point of view and understanding who they are. Some more things about it. I mean, just in general, it's a game that makes you laugh, makes you cry, makes you angry. It makes you think. That's another thing. And I gotta say, if anybody has not played Night in the Woods, if you really want to play something that is wildly story-driven, because this is very much a story-type game, you're not going to get a whole lot involved with gameplay when it comes to this. There's a lot of mini-games, but at the end of the day, you're there for the story. But if you're really interested in seeing some kind of a story that is laid out a bit like our modern society, and and come to think of it, that's another thing I wanted to say. Night in the Woods does a whole lot of talking about just modern problems and modern issues with our society. Things involved with economy. It deals with a whole lot of issues related to, you know, the working class trying to fight for their existence, and the unfairness of being in a position that you're currently in. And there's a whole lot of stuff relevant to just living and moving on and doing more with it, as well as there's a lot of things involved with tiny little bits of psychosis involved with every one of the characters, come to think of it. Everybody's got their own little bits and problems with them. And it goes into bits of that, and a huge amount of it is grounded in very solid reality. Like, I will say, I think that's what I really liked about the story, is that it never felt like it was stretching for a joke or stretching for a reference or stretching for the sake of trying to move its plot. It was very natural, and I actually did identify with a lot of the characters. There was a lot of, there were a few of my friends that I actually saw in a few of these characters, which in some cases it's kind of scary. just a tad bit. Oh, and I suppose it also helps that I freaking love doing the voices for stuff too. That was interesting. Though I will say, again, I do recommend that you play this game. There is some existential stuff though, so if you have a problem with that, I know of a few people that do not like to be reminded of like existential crisis springing things. But you know, if you're cool with that and you can deal with that, I absolutely recommend trying out the game. And I will say, if you do decide to look at, you know, not to toot my own horn or, you know, just sort of like nudge, nudge, wink, wink or anything, but I did put a hell of a lot of time and work into cutting down the Night in the Woods series into episodic formula. Specifically, that is the BitB cropped videos that are currently located on the YouTube page. If you wanted to, you know, if you feel like it, you can go and take a look at those videos and just see how, you know, how I like the game. You know, honestly, I wouldn't recommend watching the streams because I got a whole lot of things wrong. And I'm going to be honest, I did go back for the BitB, when I did BitB cropped and cut it up episodically, I did go in and fix a bunch of the issues that I made, you know, some of the mistakes that I made involved with Night in the Woods. For example, there were a couple of characters that I couldn't nail down exactly what the hell gender they were. And it wasn't until like the latter end of the series that I realized, oh, you're a gal. Okay. Whoops. My bad. So I did recut it in a little bit and essentially went back and voiced a couple of things, but for the most part, I left a lot of the genuine reactions that I had in those videos. You know, like BitB cropped is kind of my means of cutting down a stream so that it's more palatable. You know, so instead of watching an entire 2 or 3 hour stream, instead you're going to watch maybe a 20 to 30 minute episodic thing. And I'm going to do that with a couple other streams in the future. I don't know what I'm going to be doing it with. I thought maybe cutting down Zelda Breath of the Wild, but I don't know how much I can cut it down at this stage of things. Anyway, I'm just going to throw that out there, just in case you're interested, in case you're at all curious about it. Oh, but yeah. Oh, hey, nope. Get rid of that video. But anyways, I've been talking for about 30 minutes. Good lord.